Hello, this is Daniel Moran. This is my Module 12 tort liability for EDL 850. What is tort liability? Tort liability is the legal obligation of one party to a victim as a result of civil wrong or injury. This actually requires some form of remedy, form of a court system. A tort liability arises because of a combination of direct violation of a person's rights and the transgression of a public obligation causing damage or private wrongdoing. And when this happens, evidence must be evaluated in a court hearing to identify who the tortfeasor and liable party in this case. The first one that I did was Johnson versus School District of Millard. This was an incident that happened during music class where the students were participating in a class activity called London Bridges. This was where two students linked arms and the third student lays across their arms and they swing the student to the song. While the class was participating in this activity, one group swung their partner who was laying across their arms too hard and accidentally released hands and threw that student into a bookcase at the end of the room, causing a cut above his right eyebrow that required him to have 50 stitches to close the cut. If this happened in my school, what reactive measures would I do as a result? I would have a follow-up meeting with the teacher and get her side of the story on what happened in the class, and I'd also have her fill out an incident report to have on file with the district. What proactive measures would I do to prevent such torts from happening? I would make sure all of my staff is following the safety policies for students in our school handbook and remind all of my teachers that student safety is crucial. Professional ethics would be student safety, proper classroom supervision, proper classroom activities for the students, and a follow-up phone call to the parents of the injured student. The second one I did was the MM Family versus Anchorage School District, a simple fall. In this case, a Rogers Park Elementary kindergartner hugged his teacher goodbye and ran to his mother who was on the other side of the sidewalk waiting for him. As the boy was running, he fell, he tripped, and he fell into what had been a clump of pine shrubs. The pine shrubs penetrated the child's eye socket, jabbing the frontal lobe of his brain. This injury had damaged the frontal lobe of the brain, hippocampus, and the hypothalamus. If this happened in my school, what reactive measures I'd do is I would have made sure the company ground the stump down and properly cleared all the trimmings, and then I would also have my maintenance crew go over the area to make sure there wasn't anything left or fill the hole so it would not be a liability. What protective measures I would have done to prevent this is I would have found an alternate route for the students to take after school dismissal so they wouldn't even be near it, or I would also send out an email to all of my faculty and staff informing them that tree work was done and trees were down and had to be aware of any possible hazards and act accordingly. Professional ethics that would beneficial with regards to tort liability. Student safety. I'm going to move this real quick. Maintenance crew clear up any remaining areas of concerns. Alternate routes for the students clearly marked with cones, or just schedule tree work to be done when school is not in session. The next one I did was Mosley versus Portland School District. This was when two students were involved in a fight and one student brought out a knife and ended up getting cut by the knife. So when this happened, there were failing to exercise proper supervision of students, failing to provide proper security and security personnel for protection of students, and then also failing to prevent weapons from being brought into the school. If this happened at my school, what I would have done is I would have notified the parents of both students involved in the fight, as well as notify the local authorities about the incident and let them know that a knife was involved. I would review the school safety and security and move to expelling the student for violating this policy. Measures would I do to prevent such torts from happening? I'd make sure the school is following the school safety and security, that all of my faculty understand that any possible threat or knowledge of any student that might possess weapons should not be taken lightly. Professional ethics that would be beneficial is student safety, school safety and security following that, and then proper security personnel on grounds, and then proper school personnel supervising the students. The next one I did was Evan Barr versus Laurel Cunningham in Township High School, District 211. An Illinois PE teacher was sued after a student was injured during a floor hockey game. During PE class, the student was injured during their floor hockey game when the ball bounced off another player's stick and hit him in the eye. The student did not know that protective goggles were available for his use during the game. If this happened in my school, what reactive measures would I do? I would have a meeting with the teacher and ask what happened in class and what safety instructions were taken. I would have an incident report filled out and on file with the school district. What proactive measures I would do to prevent this from happening is I would make sure that all my staff were following the school safety handbook, that student safety is most important, and that all activities conducted in class should be appropriate and safe. That when in doubt of an activity, check with the administration to make sure that it's not going to be a liability. Professional ethics that I do would be student safety, proper supervision of students, and proper classroom activities. The next one that I did was negligence lawsuit against Tellin High School. The lawsuit was filed in 2019 in Supreme Court, and it goes over how a student was injured during a levitation of a parachute. The PE teacher was doing the Eskimo blanket toss, where the students are throwing up in the air while laying on their back in a blanket. While this was happening, a student fell on her back and neck, causing her to fracture 3 vertebrae in her thoracic spine. This was the second student that was injured in the same activity. A student in a previous class sustained a wrist fracture to similar hard landing during the activity. If this happened at my school, I would meet with my teacher and get an understanding of why he thought this activity was appropriate, and why he did not stop or provide more safety measures after a student landed incorrectly in a previous class. What proactive measures I do, I'd make sure that there's a physical education policy in place to ensure that no class activity would require a student to leave their feet unless under their own doing. That I'd hold my physical education educators to a higher standard of student safety. Professional ethics, once again, student safety, proper classroom activities, and proper classroom supervision. And that is all. Have a good one.